going on, Buffs Nation? Man, heartbreaking loss this past weekend. Honestly, even a little bit embarrassing. So we had to bring in our national guy. We got TJ from over there on College Football Addiction. TJ, man, what's going on?
Man, how are you doing, man? I'm doing well.
I'm all right? Losses don't always hit me super hard because I understand it's sports and it's life, but at the same time, this one hit a little different when it comes to a rivalry game, and it kind of looked a little bit embarrassing, right? So we got, in Colorado traveling up to Lincoln to play against Nebraska. Last season went great for the Buffs. Second half, they showed up, showed out, and won the game. In this one, I'll be honest, the team showed up a little bit more and a little showed out in the second half, but it was nowhere near enough as they started the game off in a ginormous flipping hole, 28-0. And lose the game 28-10. So, TJ, from your perspective, I know you dropped a video on it. You all can check it out over at College Football Addiction. It was his initial, thoughts or whatnot. Now that we've slept on it a couple of days, what's your thoughts around Colorado and that Nebraska game and how the Buffs performed?
Yeah, to me, Colorado just kind of ran into an impossible situation, and I think we maybe had some concerns after the North Dakota State game. But I don't know that they, it is just 2 games, right? And it's only 1 game against an FBS opponent. And so you've got some time to fix things. You're 1/6 of the way through the season. But for as good as they are at the skill positions, and we know how good the wide receiver core is, we know how good Sheduer Sanders is, and even the running backs have some promise, I think. I just don't know that they're good enough in the trenches. Now, let's measure that a little bit. I think Nebraska's probably got as good of trenches as anybody you'll see this year. And things should be a little bit easier when you play some Big 12 competition. Not all of them. Some of them do have really good trenches as well. Things should take a step back. But, yeah, from the very beginning, when Sheduer just had no time at all, and you really just didn't have time to threaten them deep or try to beat them deep. We had a former Nebraska player on to chat with us about where he felt that they were susceptible to Colorado kind of taking advantage. And from the very beginning, it felt like, man, if he doesn't have the time to throw, they're not going to be very competitive in this game. And I thought defensively they were better in the second half. I don't know how balls to the wall Nebraska really was, with the 28-0 lead to extend that. They got a little more conservative. Colorado did step up and play better defensively in the second half. And so there are some positive takeaways. If, you could play the ifs and buts game. If you're not for the pick six, it's 21-10 final score. It looked, you go into half 21-0. You're kind of thinking, well, maybe there's a chance. I don't know. Maybe it plays out a little bit differently. But yeah, just they weren't necessarily competitive for a game that was billed as like, man, the rematch from last year and the rivalry from history. Man, it was frustrating to see because the offensive line just really didn't even give them a chance to be super competitive in this one.
I agree 100%. Let's talk about that struggle. Speaking of struggling, are you struggling with that BO that all of us have? I think I found a solution. I've been checking out Mando. From the founders of Lumi, they've got these awesome products that's built specifically for men like me and you to help control those, unfortunate smells we put out when we exercise. Right, yeah, we exercise or do lawn work. I've been checking them out. Mando has long-lasting 72-hour odor control that always stops odor before it actually starts. Right now, they're giving a special offer. You can get $5 off their starter package with our exclusive code and link. It's right here on the screen. Use the code PRIMETIME at ShopMando. That's ShopMando.com. Check out and use their products. Me personally, when I leave the gym, I go ahead, of course, hop in the shower. Again, I told you, I take multiple showers because of all the activities that I stay busy with. From college football games, going to tailgates and all of that. I want to smell fresh when I'm walking around in that heat. And the cool thing is, Mando also has these awesome deodorant wipes that you can use on your pits package as well as your feet. Does a great job of helping control some of those smells. The best part about them is their ingredients. They're aluminum-free, baking soda-free, cruelty-free, dye-free, and they're vegan, which is kind of critical to me for my body type and how I work. It's clinically proven to control odor better than a shower alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man odor usually goes from like a 5 to a 10. We kind of, because we're always on the go. We're doing manly stuff. Well, with Mando, the average odor level stays at a 0 out of 10. You got to check them out. So they're hooking you up with a discount code because of us and your viewers of Primetime. Check it out. $5 off a starter package with our exclusive code, which is Primetime. You can see it here. That equates to over 40% off your starter package. Use the code PRIMETIME at shopmando.com. It's shopmando.com. It's time to smell better naked. Your partner, I promise you, will thank you. Yeah, so the struggle here, TJ, we have to ask this question. That running game has been non-existent for 2 weeks in a row. So you pointed out the offensive line, their struggles in keeping Sheduer upright. The run game has not shown up. Last week, they against North Dakota State ran for 59 yards. Against Nebraska, technically it was 16. And that includes a negative 30 on Sheduer because he spent most of the game scrambling, running, and getting sacked. I noticed that the most productive running back they had was Dalen Hayden in both games. He had 20 yards in the first game. He had 32 against Nebraska. I'm thinking they need to figure out a way to get him on the field way more often and give him way more touches. Am I off base in looking at it that way?
Yeah, no, I think you do. You're right there. He looks like the running back with the most promise. He looks like the guy that is going to do the most for you. Running game been non-existent, maybe for a couple of reasons though. I mean, you think about, the passing game was what was working in week 1. So you wanted to stick with it. And then week 2, you're down 28-0. Like, you're not going to have a lot of success running the ball or doing things short, but that was kind of a symptom of the team last year. They weren't incredibly strong running the ball. They didn't feature it much. Offensive line, probably a big part of that. But maybe you can improve on that this year. Maybe you can make that more of your game so that you're not so one-dimensional, so that those guys aren't just pinning their ears back and firing off on Sheduer as much as they can. You have to implement it a little bit more, and I was hoping Schumer would. I was thinking that would be something that Schumer kind of went after, a little bit more hard-nosed. But at the end of the day, if they don't think that they have the run blocking to do it, and they have to kind of abandon it early, first of all, it's going to be a long season if they're so one-dimensional all year. But second, it's going to make things extremely tough going forward. And, that's where they have to kind of have that come to Jesus moment of like, hey, we're going to have to try and run this a little bit better.
Yeah, that was the expectation I had too out of Shermer. They were going to be able to find a way to run the ball. Now, I understand, like you said, the struggles on the offensive line is where it makes it a lot tougher to be able to run the ball. But there are ways of doing it, right? You can throw bubble screens, tunnel screens, middle screens, right? Quick dump offs to the running back. You can do jet sweeps, ways to just get the ball into the hands of someone else and leverage misdirection. That's a good way of helping your offensive line as they're struggling with just traditional blocking, right? Look at the way I don't ever want to see Sheduer in like a triple option, but you can look at how Georgia Tech or a Navy or Army, how they leverage those option type runs in order to get some production whenever you typically have smaller offensive line and more nimble guys, because you got requirements in the military, right? Even those service academies, when they're playing ball, they have requirements in size. And so you got to work with what you got. I thought Pat Shermer was going to bring that effect in for this team. But let's jump on the defense really quick, because if there's one shining light that we got out of this, that defense didn't allow a single score in the second half. And they looked a lot better. They were forcing a bunch of punts. TJ, when you look at the defense, was it the defense looked like they were playing better, in which we saw them do a similar thing as North Dakota State? Or was it a product of Nebraska deciding, you know what, we're not going to exert too much energy. We're up 28-0. We have no concerns about losing this game?
I mean, I think it's fair to say it's a little bit of both. I will say, though, like you just said, it's 2 weeks in a row that they have gone to halftime and made adjustments, and things have slowed down for the other team. You certainly wouldn't say that North Dakota State took their foot off the gas in the first game. And so even if you say that for Nebraska, they kind of slowed down. They kind of took their foot off the gas. They knew they were up by enough. They'd probably be fine. Now, I don't know that Colorado's offense is one that you want to let off of the gas. If Colorado comes out and scores on their first 2 possessions, and with that offense, once it gets rolling a little bit, I don't know that you a little bit. Did Nebraska go a little more conservative? Absolutely.
Right.
but I think that it truly was that some adjustments were made, and so good on Nebraska there. I'm sorry, good on Colorado there. They needed to get better. I think we saw them better in second halves last year too. I thought they were better defensively late in the year in second halves, and so yeah, I would not just say that it was all Nebraska taking their foot off the gas, though they may have done that some. I think it's another data point where we can see that this defense does get better as games go on. I obviously wish they'd come out a little more prepared, a little more ready to start. But they do a good job of adjusting at halftime, and that's something I think they've shown really over the last couple of years, not just these two games.
Yeah, I think that's probably the like I said, the silver lining you can find in this, and hopefully that does translate as the season goes on. Again, new coaching staffs, new position people, new players, even though some are veterans as well. That's something to build upon for the entire season. So that's pretty exciting. Thank you again. We've got TJ from College Football Addiction who has joined us. Man, we appreciate you pulling up and talking with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man, for having me.
Absolutely. Check them out. College Football Addiction. Link is in the description below. You can check out some of the other videos where me and TJ were talking. We got a couple of them here on the screen right here. And you can subscribe and hit that bell notification right above TJ's head. So we will talk to all of you all very soon.